Hey, just a little break between recording. I just wanted to get on to you about the It's Time to Refresh free birthday event that we're running. But basically, I've put on a free party and it's got its unbelievable lineup. I've dropped the flyer right now. We've got from A to Z, if I can remember rightly, it's Andy Kelly. Then we've got myself. We've also got General Bounce. And last but not least, we've got John G. Really looking forward to this lineup. Like, it's all for free, and that's at Club 135, Whitehaven, and it's on Saturday the 25th of March. It's Time to Refresh, first birthday. Get on it. You know, it makes sense.
This is the It's Time to Refresh podcast with Brad Riffresh, the podcast about life, music, traveling, shit, literal shit that is, and weird and wacky stories with Brad, and a range of guests from the planet Earth. Feel free to share the pod with your pals, your mom, your neighbor's dog, or even your shrink. It's all fun. You can follow our Facebook group called It's Time to Refresh Community, or It's Time to Refresh on Instagram. Write into the pod, ask questions, and share your stories. Enjoy the pod.
Hey kids, what time is it?
It's time to refresh.
Back once again for another episode of the It's Time to Refresh podcast. This is episode 45, if I'm not mistaken. That sounds so unprofessional, but fuck it, we're in. On this episode, I've travelled down to Nottingham, come to see some family for the weekend, and I noticed that Rick's in the area. So on this episode, we've got Rickshaw.
Hello.
UK bounce producer, signed to Bounce 7 DNZ Records, and Excite, as I've just found out. Recently new to me. I'm not sure if you're new to the scene or as such, but we sort of talked briefly off the podcast and get into that. So I discovered you about 12 months ago, and you put out. I went and checked on your SoundCloud and stuff like that, and put out some cheesy bangers. Cheesy's the way I describe it anyways.
Cheesy is the word for them.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
That's where I started doing the cheesy tracks.
Right. So, how you doing?
I'm very good.
As I start off with everyone's podcast. By the way, this is the first time me and Rick have met, by the way, so seems like a decent bloke. I'll let you know by the end of the podcast.
Seal of approval.
But yeah, as I start everyone's podcast now, what did you have for tea last night?
Burgers and chips just before we did the live stream. Line the old stomach.
Right, okay. What do you do with your burgers? What do you have on them?
We had a bit of sweet chili jam. Yeah, it's just like
not something I go for, but I'm intrigued.
Really nice Aldi burgers that have got the cheese built into the middle.
Yeah, I've had them. They're really nice, aren't they?
So nice. And then you just whack a bit of lettuce.
Underrated.
Bit of lettuce, bit of sweet chili jam. Beaut.
Right, there we go. So you don't put extra cheese on, no?
No.
I'm just a fat bastard then. Do you know what I mean? So that's nice. That is actually really nice. So straight into it. Where did it all begin for Rick? Who is Rick?
Coming into this scene was about 3 years ago. It was during lockdown.
Yeah.
I was live streaming. I was doing house streams for the club that I used to work at. They wanted someone to stream on their page for a Saturday night.
Yeah.
And we used to finish at 10 on a Friday night, and we used to go and try and find other streams just to find more people and connect with other people during lockdown, because it was a pretty boring time.
Yeah.
And we found Harry Hard, Friday Night Posse.
Yeah.
He did his live streaming, and the stuff that he was playing was a lot more energetic, a lot more engaging, and just more fun.
Yeah.
So at the time, I'd maybe not made anything for about 5 years. I did dabble in house producing about 5 years previous to that.
Yeah. Nothing
major. But then the missus just said to me, "Why don't you start making stuff again?" And that's just banging idea. So I just downloaded FL Studio, and I started to make tracks, and then I needed a lot of help from. There's a couple of producers in the scene that gave me a lot of tips, tricks, and advice.
Yeah.
And how to actually structure it properly.
Yeah.
Best sort of instruments to use, and just general hints and tips, and they were really helpful. And then I came up with a track.
How did you find it converting from doing the house to the bounce stuff with regards to production?
I thought it was a lot easier. The house music can be kind of quite tricky.
Yeah.
In terms of trying to find the right sound, the right bass line.
Yeah.
Because essentially what I'm doing is I'm making donk.
Yeah.
So, I've got 50 billion donk noises in the studio, and it's just a question of finding the right one, and then it just builds. You build your track around it.
Absolutely.
It's a lot simpler.
So, I know we're talking about the bounce stuff, but do you want to go right back to the beginning? That's all right. So, when did you get into music? How old were you when you got into music?
In the womb.
In the womb?
In the womb. I had a drum kit made out of a Quality Street tin, a Roses tin. And they were 80s Quality Street tins, so they made a racket. They were made of metal.
Yeah.
I used to love listening to all my dad's vinyls back in the day. Whatever he had on vinyl, that was it.
What was there? Just so we can sort of gauge what sort of style you brought up on.
Okay. Influences Michael Jackson.
Right, yeah.
My dad had Thriller on vinyl.
Right.
I wore that out, so we had to buy it on tape.
Yeah.
Duran Duran, the Rio album.
Not a fan of Duran Duran.
Oh dear.
I know. Sorry, but it's they was, in my opinion, so overrated. People are gonna hate on that, by the way.
That's fine. The Rio album is a thing of beauty. It's my favourite album of all time.
Yeah.
They went a bit, after that.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of anything they did after the mid to late 80s, but the Rio album for me just stands up there.
Yeah.
He had the Police, the Pretenders.
I like the Police.
He had Frank Sinatra. I tried to avoid that wherever possible.
I like
if he was playing that, I'd want to get out of the room. I like something with a beat to it.
Yeah. I think there's a time and place for things like that, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like it's very mellow. Great voice though. I'm surprised you haven't donked it up, to be honest.
Watch this space. It could happen.
Oh, no, please.
I've remixed worse probably.
Yeah. Regards to Michael Jackson and that, to be honest with you, it's a bit thing listening to him nowadays because of what's out there and stuff. But when I listen to it, I feel like a smooth criminal. Yeah. Oh, just like I did there.
Very good. Very good.
And regards to, I like the Pretenders and the Police. Similar to what my dad used to listen to. It's a very, very varied taste in music, sort of say. You know what I mean? So I can see where your influences come from, and you can see where your styles sort of morphing, if that makes sense. So growing up, what was it like in school, and what was it like around with your friends? Was it a big music scene, or
no? Not really. I was the one that was always into the new music, and I was the one that was always kind of taping the top 40 at the weekend. Yeah, going in with my Walkman and to school and going, have you heard this new track? And
what year is this, if you don't mind me asking?
This would be mid-90s, so 93, 94.
Yeah.
At the time, it was like just the big tracks at the time, Aswad, Shine, things like that. Yeah. Just bangers that you can sing along to.
Right, and then so as it's progressed and you've got into the dance music, what was it house music you got into first? Was it?
Yeah, definitely.
What was the thing that caught your eye?
I mean, I've always liked dance music because if you just look at the classics from back in the day, your Coronas, all of those, your Hadaways,
so like your Euro dance type thing.
Yeah. They were good sort of back in the 90s and then it kind of progressed into things like your Fats and Smalls.
Yeah. Class. I like that era as well. That was very DIY era, wasn't it?
The whole 90s era of dance music was fantastic, and you only have to look at today's music and how much it's influenced and how much it's still sampled.
Yeah.
Today, I was actually watching, I think it was Clubland TV the other day, and I was just thinking, there is no originality in music anymore.
Yeah.
They are certainly sort of modern music. They're sampling all of what are considered to be the great tracks from our childhood.
Yeah.
It's just kind of going round in circles again. There's nothing now which is going to be in 20 years' time where people are going to go, oh, that was a banger, that.
I don't know. I think that people are going to look, this is just my opinion, people are going to look at, for instance, the likes of what Camel Fat's doing, and they're going to go, like, you see the kids of today, and they're mad into the sort of house music and the techno and the tech house and everything like that. And I think in 20 years' time, I think maybe Panic Room or Cola or something like that's going to be like the rhythm of the night of.
But who's going to be sampling Panic Room and Cola in 20 years' time? Probably everyone.
Yeah. They will. It's just it's going to be recycled, isn't it? Recycled over and over.
I mean, if you look at the tunes which were on, say, because a measuring stick for me is whether it was a banger or not was usually if it appeared on a now that's what I call music album.
Yeah.
I collected those religiously back in the 90s. I had every single one, and there are parts of me now that could tell you what now a song was on.
I'm like that.
And
what was your first now?
My first now was Now 19. that was the first CD I had. The first proper now was Now 4 on vinyl.
Right.
And my dad had that anyway because it came out when I was 1, 2.
Yeah.
But
My first Now was Now 38. No, I remember
oh,
that.
38.
38 was good.
Some bangers on there. Lighthouse Family.
Is like family on that one?
Yeah.
Is it?
Bit of Sash.
Sash is on it.
Sash
yes.
is on
Yeah. 38, and then from I dabbled in, got back in because I used to get my like pocket money and stuff, and then go down to like Morrison's or Safeway at the time and get the £9.99. So I get £10, £9.99. There's your CD. Got it for the. And I think I dabbled. Like I got the first one was 38, I believe. Then 42, and then from 52, I bought them right up until like they were in the 70s. Sort
Nice.
of. Every single one. I'm not even sure why, because like it's ridiculous. You can listen to it on the TV, I suppose.
But if you this is the point that I'm trying to make. Is if you listen to what I don't even know what the latest now is. 112. I think maybe
know.
112, 113, something.
I didn't
like
even
that.
know they still existed.
Yeah, they're still going. But if you listen to what's on those now, none of those tracks are going to be considered bangers in 20 years.
Do you know what's on them? So it was Camel Fat on them,
I think Camel Fat have been on a couple.
right? So they are making it onto them now.
I think so. But a lot of it's mainly sort of chart based. If it's on Capital FM, it's going to be on the next now.
Oh, okay, right. I see. That's an interesting topic. I think it is. What's your favourite now album then?
Favourite now of all time? Now you're asking. I know 44 was the biggest one. 44 was the biggest selling one of all time. I think my personal favourite was 28.
28. What's on it?
28. Aside from the B-52s when they did the track for the Flintstones movie, which was god awful.
Yeah.
There's some bangers on there. You got Ace of Base. The Sign, I think, is on there.
Yeah.
Oh, that might be on 27. I digress. Aswad is on there.
Yeah.
It's just banger after banger. There's Max Getaway. Ultimate banger.
Yeah.
There's a lot of big dance tunes on CD too, if I can remember rightly. But without looking at the track listing, I know for a fact that Max is on there.
I think one of my favourites was 56, if I remember rightly. That was Black Eyed Peas, Where Is the Love's on
Yes.
it. Yeah, that's if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's about 2003 time, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2003, winter of 2003, because it's the ice cover.
That's it, yeah. 'Cause 55 was it had like a setting sun.
Vaguely, is it not the one with the beach ball? I don't know. Anyways, we're sort of getting off topic here.
We've played this game, me and the missus, we had the laptop up and she was testing me. She was like, what colour is on now 32? And I'd be like, right, it's blue, green and orange. And she'd pull it up and she'd go, bloody hell.
Yeah, it's. I don't know why I was so pulled in by the Now CDs. I know there was hundreds of different compilations, but I think it was the main one, wasn't it?
It's the numbered ones. The numbered ones are the ones to have. Anything else, like now that's what I call driving rock.
Yeah.
Now that's what I call Eurodance, 90s dance. They're okay, but they're just recycled.
Yeah, definitely. So you've sort of grew up listening to quite popular music. I wouldn't say pop music in general, popular music. So the dance with the Euro dance and stuff like that, you've got into that. What was your first experience in a club?
My first experience in a club, believe it or not, it was a club in Nottingham, which you wouldn't get away with today. It was called ISIS.
Right.
And it was on a staff night out with Tesco.
Right.
I'd been working for them for about 2 months. I'd just finished my GCSEs. I had like a little part-time job with Tesco while I was doing my A-levels. And they had this big staff night out for Christmas.
Right.
And it was the night that Artful Dodger Rewind got to number 1.
Right.
I just remember that because that was what was... I just finished taping the top 40 before we went out.
Yeah.
God knows how I even got in.
Yeah. Why were you a young looking lad?
I was well, I looked 18, but I wasn't. And we just had this big night out in ISIS, and it was just a completely different world for me.
So what was it? Is there anything that sticks out to you from that night, other than record the top 40? Is there anything that's like any tunes played of that time?
Tunes at the time, there was some. It was like an Ibiza night,
Right.
so, and it was very trancey. So it was like your Lang Follow Me,
Yeah.
Mario Pew Communications, Somebody Answer the Phone.
Yeah.
Big tunes that were just about to be released in the year 2000, or your big trance tracks.
Yeah.
ATB 9pm, that was still doing the rounds.
Big tunes. Like good era to be going out as well.
God, yeah.
Good era. So are you into DJing or anything like that at this point? No.
At that point, I'd literally just started my journey because I'd borrowed a mate's vinyl decks from school.
Yeah.
He'd lent me a set of belt-driven decks.
Right.
And I was trying to teach myself. He had a load of Positiva vinyls.
Yes.
Which were really cool. So he had like Lang Follow Me
Yeah.
and all of the Binary Finery, all of the big Positiva tracks. And I kind of started. I wasn't even trying to transition them. I was just putting it on, listening to one track after the other because it was brilliant.
Yeah.
And that was just kind of the start of me getting to grips with decks at that point.
Initially, when I first wanted my decks, I didn't want to. Not that I didn't want to be a DJ, but I always had that thing of I'd love to like be the DJ, not sitting there like mixing or look at me. I always like to. I always, when I went to christenings and that as a kid, I was always like, I'd love to be the person who keeps these people dancing. Do you know what I mean? That was my thing.
Yeah.
When I first got my decks, it wasn't a DJ. It was to buy like the extended mix of.
Yep.
One that always sticks out in my head is because it was the first one that I got was Darude Sandstorm.
Right.
I it was on like what was it? I'd heard it on. I've talked about this in the podcast before actually. Beat the Classics in the Mix. It was I'm sure it was like a Ministry owned compilation. So it had all the classics on, but it had Sandstorm on. But it's only from the first break, and it mixes out like quite early. So I only got like 2 minutes 20 of that track. So I thought, if I get the vinyl, right, I can get the extended club mix, and then I can hear.
The whole thing.
Yeah, and then that's what got me into it. So I was like, I could hear it from start to end, and I fully appreciate it. And I think that's why I got the decks originally. But yeah, how quickly did you pick it up, the DJing side of things? Like,
I not very well at all.
Right.
It was about 3 or 4 years later. I was working at an insurance broker's in Leicester.
Yeah.
A friend of mine who was working there, her husband did it, and he was sort of professional. He had his own company doing weddings and mobile stuff, you know. And he had a set of Newmark Axis 9s.
The grey in black CD J things, like, yeah, they were. I think I've been on them in a club.
The curved buttons on the top, the two sets.
Yeah, I didn't like them.
Awful decks. And I went round to their house one night, and he actually showed me. He went, "Here, have a little play, see what you think. I'm just going to go and get a shower and stuff like that." So I had a little play, and he showed me how to mix. He demonstrated to me how to mix, and I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I went, "No, I don't necessarily think DJing's for me, or certainly mixing isn't for me.
Yeah.
Maybe radio's more my thing, because I've always wanted to kind of entertain people or show them new music. I want to be one of those people that shows you new music and gets you to appreciate it. We still do it now on the live stream every week. These are the new tracks that are out this week.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until a couple of years after that, when I was living in Leicester with my flatmate at the time, he had a set of vinyl decks.
Yeah.
And they were fairly decent. I think they were cam.
Right.
They were direct drive, so it was a lot easier. And I kind of taught myself to mix using those, and I got it then.
What type of tunes were at the time?
At the time, we had a real big selection of vinyls when me and my old flatmate lived together. We had because we used to get promos from the likes of, I don't know even how we ended up getting them, but we ended up getting promos from all around the world. So we had Friday Night Posse, Resonance, Q, all the big AAT.
So it was like the Clubland sort of music.
We had those, but we were big into house music as well. So we used to buy a lot of defected vinyls.
Yeah.
We used to do this weird sort of double mashup and have both tracks playing at the same time. We'd have Michael Gray The Weekend playing on one deck, and then we'd have on the other side Double 99 RIP Groove. Right. Just for that little riff and the vocal drop in it.
Right, okay.
We'd just bring the crossfader over and then slam it back when it was done and think that we were really good. we weren't. It was terrible, but that's how initially I taught myself to mix on vinyl decks.
Yeah.
And then when I went back to CD a couple of years later, I was like, I realised what the CD decks are trying to do, how they're emulating the vinyl, and it was at that point that I picked it up and went, yes, I can do this on CD as well. So
had you had your first gig or anything like that at this point?
Just about. The guy who initially showed me the Axis 9s that I didn't get, he knew that I could play decent tunes back to back and entertain people, and he needed someone to cover a night that he couldn't make. It was in a big Italian restaurant in Leicester. They had a mobile DJ every single Friday and Saturday night. Yeah. So he said every now and again he'd just chuck me a Friday or a Saturday.
Right.
So I'd been doing it for a bit, and weirdly the first proper gig I got was at a nightclub in Leicester called the Fan Club.
Right.
Big indie club. They'd literally just have Saturday night was indie night. It would be Killers, it would be Oasis, Arctic Monkeys, the works. And I answered, and you would never get this now, I answered a newspaper advert.
Right.
Because they were looking for a DJ.
Okay.
And they brought me in, and they wanted to change this indie club. 20 years they've been running as an indie club. 20 years they've been playing nothing but...
Oasis on repeat.
Exactly, yeah. Oasis, Blur, Kasabian, the lot.
Yeah.
And then they wanted to change it into a big, cheesy 90s night.
Right.
So I come in, puffed up, right, this is going to be brilliant. I've got me Gina G off Now 34.
Yeah.
You know, I've got me Macarena, I'm all good. This is going to be brilliant. We'll have a bit of Spice Girls, a bit of Backstreet Boys. The hate I got on that night from the crowd, they didn't get it.
Yeah, no, well,
didn't
it's
get it.
the change, isn't it? Like, do you know what I mean?
But we plugged away at that, and it's still going now.
Is
that
it?
night is still going now.
Oh,
and that's nearly 20 years later.
Not bad, is it? I think there's a big demand for 90s nostalgic dance music as well, more so now than ever.
It's the new 80s though.
It came across in lockdown very clearly what people wanted. The amount of times I got asked to do a live stream to play classics because the new stuff, I don't know whether the new stuff, people just want to chase the nostalgia bug or they're not interested in new stuff or what, I don't know. But during lockdown, there was a big push on like people saying, "Oh, I'm doing a classic sort of live stream. Do you want to do an hour?" And I'm like, "Oh, all right then." But then you get bored of classics. For me, I like fresh new music. I like bringing people like. To me, fresh music doesn't necessarily need to be new. It needs to be new to a certain demographic.
Yeah.
So, for instance, when I was playing these classics, I played one or two classics once, and then I got sick of it. What I did was I was throwing in like bits of stuff that nobody would know, like maybe bringing some early hard style into a bounce set. It basically just translates exact because it is just a kick and an offbeat, and to me, it freshened it up a bit. You're not just mixing the same, as I say, Res Q someday or something like that. Or do you know what I mean? The ones that everyone knows, and it's very refreshing. So it just, like I say, I'm not knocking the classics, but if you're going to play classics, be at least digging your record collection to find.
Well, this is kind of what I'm doing now. I've kind of discovered my love for new music again, new house music. I mean, there's the names are out there, like you, Jax Joneses and all of them, but this is a road that I've started going down now, and credit to Excite Digital for putting up with me doing this.
Yeah.
Friday I'll go through the Spotify list of all the week's new releases. If there's any nice big tracks in there that need a bounce mix, I've now sort of got better ways of getting the vocal out of it.
Yeah.
And making a bounce mix, and we've talked about the fact that typically I can get a track done in a weekend if need be.
Yeah.
So I'm now sort of looking at new tracks that come out on the Friday. By the Monday, I'm emailing Excite and going, right, here we go. I've got a new version of the new Jax Jones track, which I have. That's the one that's my most recent one. It's just come out. And they'll go, right, okay, we'll do a quick release for you. We'll have it out by Wednesday, Friday, you know, whatever is best.
Yeah.
But that's, for me now, seems to be the way forward, because it's not, oh right, which 90s song can I remix this week?
Yeah.
It's something fresh, it's something new, and it's quite exciting, because on a Thursday I could have a new track out on the Monday and not know what it's going to be. I don't know a single word in the track. I don't even know how it goes. Yeah. And it's more challenging as well, because you haven't necessarily got...
It's not a big tune yet, so you don't know if it's going to be a big tune.
But you haven't also got the stems for that track also. So everything that you do, you've got to create what's already in the track from scratch. Yeah. Which is really cool.
Just got to be your devil's advocate here. Yeah. Do you not think that you doing that, it's like you see all these pop remixes again within the scene? Do you not think that there should be more originality?
Massively. And that's one thing I'm looking at this year as well, like I said to you earlier, is getting in a couple of original vocals. Yeah. I'm even going to try and write some myself at some point and get somebody to sing it. That we know a plethora of fantastic. There's some fantastic vocalists in this scene. Yeah. You got likes of Laura Mack. Yeah. Is brilliant. Kirsty Smiler is another one.
I don't know Kirsty.
Kirsty's done a lot of work she's working. Oh God, she's got a track out at the moment, and I can't remember. She's just finished a track with Kenny Hayes. Right. Which is fantastic. We've used Adele,
Yeah.
Scottish vocalist.
Yeah, I know. She works with DNZ, does she?
Yeah,
Sometimes,
we've done 2 tracks. I did On the Phone, the old Sentetian track.
Yeah.
We got Adele to do a cover version of that. We also had her in for Alan James and myself when we did Moonman's Don't Be Afraid.
Yeah.
We did that as well. She's very good. But there's some great vocalists out there, and if you can write the right song,
Yeah.
then it'll sound great when it's recorded.
I agree. I was just being your devil's advocate there, because what you're doing is bringing a sort of mainstream ears to the bounce scene. With people will be searching up the latest, I don't know what the latest pop track, and then seeing your bounce mix might get them to love bounce. There's no reason why you can't create new followers like that, but at the same time, there's a balance between originality and bootlegging, isn't there? That's just it's a debate that could go on forever.
There are people out there that are pushing for more originality in bounce.
Yeah.
You've got the This Is Bounce UK label, Kenty and Alex.
Yeah.
They are screaming out for new original music.
Yeah.
And they actively do encourage people to be original, write tracks, record them, get them produced.
Yeah.
They want a bit of originality, and that's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice that there is a place to go. You can go to a label and go, this isn't a remix of an old 90s dance track. This is brand new. It's a track that I've written.
Yeah.
It's a track that I'm very proud of, and they'll put it out. Fingers crossed if they like it. Do you know what I mean? It could be an absolute pile of shit.
Yeah.
But they will put it out if they feel that it's a good track.
Yeah.
And the scene is screaming out for some originality, and I think that they do a good job in trying to push that upon us.
To be honest with you, I released 2 tracks with them last year on the This Is Bounce label. I did a Chasing Stars and one called The Treble. The Chasing Stars is a vocal tune. It done really, really well with them. They sort of knew who'd like it, and they pushed it really well. It did get a good sort of response. The Treble was more an underground thumping tune, and I don't think it done as well as it could have. But as I say, they're looking for originality, and both of them were original, so I just thought fire them over that way. Do you know what I mean? And to be honest with you, I think they're onto something pretty good. I play quite a lot of their releases in my sets. I'm sure Wayne Pokio FX has done a couple of releases with them, and I like some of their stuff, some of his stuff. I think it's onto something good. It's just getting it out there and established. That's the thing. It's harder to establish originality than it is to say a chart tune. If you do another remix of Pretty Green Eyes, for instance, it's just another remix of Pretty Green Eyes. But if you can break an original tune, you're onto something. You know what I mean? It could potentially blow up.
But assuming that your remix of Pretty Green Eyes is good, it's going to sell.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where the problem lies. That's a lot of people, like myself, who've not yet done an original.
Yeah.
But a lot of people who are kind of in their comfort zone with remixes of older classics that they know are going to be popular just due to what it is. And then you've got people who do want to push themselves outside of that comfort zone. Yeah. And that's something which I'm going to try and do this year and get a couple of original vocals in.
Absolutely. I just wanted to ask you then, so we got onto it before, you got onto the talking about lockdown and getting into production and the bounce and stuff like that. When you got to grips with things, what was your first track that you'd finished?
First track with which I did with a lot of help in terms of just how to do it. From Wayne from the Bouncing Forces.
Yes.
He gave me he just seemed to have an endless amount of time for me during that period. But the first track we finished was, it was a remix of Muse Pressure.
Right, I don't think I've heard that.
We called it Pressure Building.
Right.
And
we're happy with it,
in the original version, which I foolishly thought, yes, this is brilliant, this is the best song I've ever made.
Yeah.
Sent it off to Oscar at DNZ.
Yeah.
And bless him, he come back and he just ripped it to pieces.
Yeah.
He come back and he went, I would never sign this in a million years. But then he did say, this is why, and this is why.
I like that. I like the fact that you've got what's the word? So he didn't just go shite and that's it. He's give you reasons why, and then if you make them changes, there's no reason why you can say no. Then does that make sense?
It was massively sort of constructive criticism, which really, really helped. So we went back and we looked at it and we did finish it off.
Yeah,
but I didn't do anything with it after that point. I didn't send it off anywhere.
Yeah.
I kind of left it for a bit, and I thought I started work on a new track. And that was, I think I just got some inspiration because I was watching the footy one Sunday afternoon. It was on Sky Sports, Super Sunday.
Right.
And they just started using Celeste, Stop This Flame,
Right.
as the theme tune for it. And I thought, ooh, I've not heard a bounce remix of that. Let's
Right.
give that one a go. So, tried to do another track.
Yeah.
That one took about, I can't believe I'm saying this now, it took about 3-4 weeks to get done.
Right.
And I was obsessed with getting it done. And when it was finished, I sent it off to Kenty.
Right.
And Kenty signed it. Kenty was straight in there. I did actually send it to Andy Whitby as well.
Yeah.
In a message on Facebook, but as many people in the scene know, trying to get a message back off Andy Whitby on Facebook is like trying to find a fart in a jacuzzi.
Right.
He's just dead busy and can't reply all the time. Right. And he didn't see it and he missed it. So the Acceleration Digital put it out after Kenty signed it.
Right.
And weirdly, I had a message back off Andy Whitby a couple of weeks later after it got released, just telling me that it was going into his new podcast, the new Bounce Heaven podcast.
Yeah.
And at that point, I went, oh, right. I'd done a couple more tracks since then as well, but I just kind of went, while you're here, check this out. It's Pressure Building. It's my new track.
Yeah.
And
so you done a rework of the
we'd redone it and it sounded better. But I gave him that while I had his attention. Yeah. And he went, that's fine, I'll put that out on Bounce Heaven.
Right.
So I was like, Jesus Christ, okay. So I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
If I've now got tunes going out on Bounce Heaven. And then we followed that up with a few more. Did a remix of Pink's Trouble.
Yeah. Great tune, by the way, Trouble, isn't it? I love her vocals. I think she's always...
Brilliant. We've just done a brand new one, Trustful.
Yeah.
Which is, at the moment, currently sat at number 1 in the Excite chart.
Yeah.
And it got dual release. It was on Bounce Heaven as well, and that came out a couple of days ago. It's kind of midway up.
Yeah,
it's doing all right. Pink's brilliant.
Yeah, I always like. I'll sometimes have like marathons in the car where I listen to one artist, e.g. like a Michael Jackson, Pink. Yesterday was Take That. I listen to really cheesy music.
Eclectic. Cool.
But Pink's one of my regular go-tos. Pink and Kelly Clarkson.
There's nothing wrong with Kelly. Kelly Clarkson's vocals at the moment are getting an absolute hammering in the bounce scene. Bounce projects, doing really, really well. We've got Because of You.
Yeah, Behind Those Hazel Eyes.
That's the one. Because of You was Outforce. That is a banging version.
Right, that's been hammered over the years, and everyone's had a remix of that. And then honestly, she's got so many great tunes though. To be honest with you, we could list loads and loads, but yeah. So you sort of you're on to doing Bounce Heaven digital stuff, Excite. So what do you do? How do you send your tracks out now, for instance?
So it all depends, because I've got choice now.
Yeah,
I've got choice whether it could be Bounce Heaven, it could be DNZ, it could be Excite Digital. It all depends on the actual track, because I know what Bounce Heaven are looking for in a track.
Yeah.
And it's, Whitby has replied to me on messages before and said that he is a fan of when I do something a little bit more serious. And I think in his own words, it was like a little bit less jive bunny shit.
Yeah.
We have done a lot of cheesy tracks.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with them. Everyone loves a bit of cheese. We all enjoy a good little sing-along. We have a full half-hour section on the live stream, which is purely just sing-along tunes.
Yeah.
We love them, But if it's a proper serious good tune, Bounce Heaven.
Yeah.
Usually, if it's a cheese fest, then it will go over to DNZ.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the middle of that is Excite.
Right. Okay.
I've just finished a version of Axwell and Ingrosso, More Than You Know.
Yeah.
That's just gone off to Excite. I actually don't know why, because that could have been one for Bounce Heaven as well. But I enjoy working with Excite so much. Like the label owners are really, really nice people.
Yeah.
The gigs that they put on are fantastic, and it's time to kind of start shifting.
Yeah.
Some of my more serious stuff over to them as well.
Yeah. Understandable. So what? And then your cheesy stuff goes DNZ. Yeah, you were saying,
Every time.
Yeah, they love the cheese there though.
Yeah.
Like the amount of stuff I've heard over the years, it's like it's very cheese, very always like a bit. You would call it, it's like not happy hardcore, but happy bounce. It's it's very much that sort of style. So we'll talk about gigs wise and that as well. So what have you done since coming out of lockdown? Like, 'cause obviously this is where in lockdown you must have built a back catalogue of tunes up, and you've been releasing them, so you've sort of built a name for yourself. What was the first gig coming out of lockdown?
Because I've done typically for the last 15 years or so, I've done your typical Friday night, Saturday night in like your Yates's or all of those. So when I came back, when the clubs opened again and I was back on the scene, I wasn't doing bounce gigs.
Yeah.
To be fair, I'd only been in the scene at 6-7 months at that point, so I wouldn't be expecting to. To be honest, I wouldn't be expecting to now, because it's just, you have to put in the graft and you've got to really get your name out there to get these type of gigs.
Yeah.
So even if I wasn't getting them now, I wouldn't be disappointed.
Yeah.
But the first gig I did when I went back was in the fan club in Leicester,
right?
Which is now a 4-room club. It's massive. We put on a sort of dance/bounce night in there to see how it would go down.
Yeah.
Alan James came,
right?
Because we'd just finished Bellissima at that point as well, so it was nice.
Yeah.
And it bombed.
Right.
It bombed. Not necessarily because of the night itself, but I think that just the club in general wasn't busy.
Yeah.
We were hampered by the fact that they couldn't take any card payments at the bar. It was cash only.
Yeah.
Just in our room.
Yeah.
So that killed us off. And we tried just doing normal dance music nights and house nights in there over the coming weeks, which were fine. They got busy, but I just wasn't feeling it anymore.
Right.
I didn't. It's a different world now to what it was 15 years ago.
Yep.
People used to come just for the music and have a good time and then go home.
Yeah.
And now you don't know whether you're even going to make it home when you come out of a club.
Yeah.
It's certainly in certain areas of Leicester.
Yeah.
There's been problems, and I just got to the point where some of the people are dead horrible as well. You wouldn't go into Poundland.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't go like, hey Tracy, if you don't scan this on your barcode scanner next, you're the worst checkout scanner in the world.
Yeah.
So why would you go into a club again? If you don't play it next, you're shit. Or can you play it now? We're leaving. No, bye then.
Yeah, you're leaving.
But it just got to the point where I was getting that frustrated with all the regular, normal shit requests that we get on a night out.
Yeah.
Play it next. I'm not Spotify, love. Just hang on. I'm trying to take you on a musical journey here. You'd have been a shit clubber 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So I just kind of knocked that on the head and went, right, I'm going to spend my weekends now producing.
Yeah.
And if bounce gigs come along, great. If they don't, fuck it.
Yeah.
So that was that. So I just spent every Saturday night now, laptop open, headphones on, let's do it. Let's make a new tune. And I'm just so happier doing it that way round.
So with gigs wise, what was the first bounce gig then?
First bounce gig was a tiny little club. It was upstairs. It was like an upstairs room 2 type gig in Leicester.
Yeah.
And it was just a few smaller name DJs.
Yeah.
And apparently my name was big enough to headline it. God knows why.
Yeah.
It's no disrespect to any of the kind of smaller names that were on the lineup, but I thought that any of those names could have been up at the top of that poster and it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But it was a kind of tiny little room 2 type gig without there being a room 1.
Right, okay.
About 5 people turned up.
Right.
The rest of the people there were the multi lineup of DJs.
Right.
And it was just a mix of hardcore and bounce, and it didn't flow very well between DJs. It was just horrible.
Right.
That was the first proper kind of bounce type gig I did.
Yeah.
After that was the big summer sesh.
Yeah.
Kenty invited me over to Wigan to play at the Ibiza bar in the daytime before we all went over to Pure.
Yeah.
Fallon was on before me.
Yeah.
I was then on, I think it was 5 o'clock, and then Drake Liddell was on after me at 6. And I had the best time.
Yeah.
It was absolutely buzzing. Everyone was loving the tunes.
Yeah.
And we just had such a really, really, really cool time.
Them summer sesh gigs are always really popular, aren't they, as well? Because they always pack out the Ibiza bar and then sort of like move on to
and then we all just kind of we kind of disappeared at about 7 o'clock to try and find somewhere to just get something to eat before we moved, because we knew it was going to be a long night. And we just ended up in this random pub and got food, but they had a DJ on 7 o'clock at night. That ended up playing bounce music.
You're in Wigan. That's not surprised.
I can understand that.
Yeah, Wigan is like everyone's grandma loves bounce. Never mind. Do you know what I mean? It's a generational thing as well. Like,
but they're just like sort of having burger and chips in the background. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
Well,
Class. I like that. I noticed it when I was down in Wigan not so long ago, and like I was coming out of I think it was coming out of Asda. I'd been to get like a meal deal or something like that, and I came out and like just driving past, it was just absolute 160 BPM Joe Taylor style donk, and it was just like, yeah, I'm in Wigan. That's basically it. Class. So how was the night do at the summer session? Was that good?
The night do was cracking, and we didn't stay that long. In all fairness, by the time we went to Pure, my other half's got sort of quite not photosensitive epilepsy.
Yeah.
But if there's a lot of strobes, she'll just hit the deck and that's it.
Yeah.
Bless her. And we were in Pure, and you know what Pure's like. It's just pure strobe. It doesn't matter where you stand.
Yeah.
But I sort of went down the front, so I had a bit of a mini rave on my own.
Yeah.
Down on the front. Lovely. We stayed there for a couple of hours. Went and smashed a baked bean pizza and went back to the hotel about midnight.
Baked bean pizza.
Baked bean pizza, and I get a lot of ribbing off this from Chris Davies, Smokey.
Right. Okay.
He just finds the entire thought of it disgusting, but it was in a kebab shop over the road from Pure.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna eat it. I'd eat it 110%. But
I'd have had dog shit. How drunk I was, I'd have had dog shit on that pizza, and it would have been lovely. But baked bean pizza.
Honestly, it just sounds random. Like I imagine there was so much better on the menu. I'd still eat it, but
there were 100 things on that menu that were better than the baked bean pizza. But when you're drunk and you can't focus and your eyes just hit something,
that's
I will have that.
Yeah.
I will have that.
Right. So what sort of gigs have you got coming up now after this then?
So we've done one gig for Excite. They had their big debut gig last year in Cosmic Ballroom in Newcastle.
Yep.
We're doing it all over again. This year, bigger club, we've got the Riverside.
Yeah.
We've got Room 2. We've got Andy Whitby, we've got Club Villa.
Yeah.
Myself, we've got Alan Ben, Hardy M.
Yeah.
And then Room 2, we've got the likes of CMA with Alan James in there.
Yeah.
Alan James is coming for it.
Excellent.
Which is going to be amazing.
Excellent. That'll be a trek up from his house. Like
he'll love that. I think he might be teaching the day before as well. So
fantastic. I think he's very, very particular and organised. Alan, obviously been on the podcast before. I think he'll do a tactical sleep, and then like he'll make it so he's fresh and he's ready for it. I can guarantee you.
Alan will fall asleep bang on 4 o'clock. He'll have his alarm set for bang on 7 o'clock, and then he'll be there for bang on 8 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the Riverside in Newcastle.
Yeah,
check that out.
Yeah,
just plugging for you.
Friday the 5th of May.
Yeah. Don't worry, I don't want any royalties for it.
It's handy because you're not getting it.
But yeah, so we're going to move on to part 2 now, if that's all right.
That's absolutely fine.
We're back in. All right, how we doing? Just want to take a second of your time before we start today's episode, and I want to tell you about our Patreon. Patreon is a tool that we use to financially support this podcast. For as little as £3 a month, you can support us and what we do. It pays towards our travel, our editing time, recording equipment, making things better, essentially, for the podcast. But in return, we give you at least one bonus episode per month. Early access to the public episodes, which you're watching now, so you get these a couple of days early. And also as well, I'll be giving away all my tracks on there. So if you subscribe for £3 a month, you might get £10 worth of tracks. Every track that I produce will be going on the Patreon page. So for as little as £3, you can support the cause. You won't even notice it going out your bank. Sign up now at patreon.com/ It's Time to Refresh. That is patreon.com/ It's Time to Refresh. You know you're a fucking belter. Nice one. Back for part 2 of the podcast. This is the question section. I haven't asked the guest the questions yet, so these are just on the fly. So some of them might be ridiculous. Just answer them the best you can.
Go for
it. Okay, yeah. If you've got any questions for the podcast, just fire them into our Instagram account at It's Time to Refresh, or you can join our Facebook group at It's Time to Refresh Community and ask questions there. I'll give you an update on the hoodies and the t-shirts as well. In about 2 weeks' time from now, we'll should have it launched on Bandcamp. Should have. I'm not confirming that. It should have. Not always getting the time to get stuff done. So first question is, hiya pal, which is your favourite track and why? And that's from Martin Nickel. So what is your favourite track?
Of mine or just in general?
Of yours that you've done.
Right, it's... Oh, blimey, now you're asking because we're getting on close for sort of 90, 100 tracks. I think that my favourite one that I've done was a remix of the Muse track Compliance.
Right.
The track came out, and then about 2 weeks later, we found like the vocal stems, we found all the guitar stems, and it was wonderful. We thought we'd put that one together, and it just worked, and it sounded really good, and it got a big response from people on the streams.
Yeah.
Everyone was requesting that one. It was just although it shouldn't work.
Yeah.
Like an indie rock band.
Yeah, in a dance tune.
And then all of a sudden into a not just a dance tune, but a bounce tune, a donk tune, and then it worked and it sounded really good. It's just one of those ones that just came together.
Everything's been donked. Don't ever think that you're doing something original, because I've heard the Beatles donked, mate.
Yeah.
It's just one of them things, in it. So what was it? Was it an emotional attachment to it, or was it just that everything fell together right, or
both? I love Muse.
Yeah.
They're my favourite band. I've seen them 13 times live.
Yeah.
Everything I've followed them right since the beginning of when they got together, like before they were even called Muse, when they were Rocket Baby Dolls.
Yeah.
So I followed them for many years. Like I say, seen them many times live. It's not the first Muse track I've done.
Yeah.
I think I've done 5 now.
Right.
But that one just was a really good song, and it just turned
Sat
out
right.
that well.
Yeah.
I was really
I haven't heard it, but I will check it out on the drive back.
There you go.
And that's a good question. For me, I'd have to go for I don't know. I think the one that really sort of got my name out there was Forever Loving You, which was I've been sort of pushing as somebody just lingering in the bounce scene for a long time and putting tracks out, and they were doing all right and stuff like that. But when that came out, the buzz for it was really good. So to me, that's why it's sort of, I loved the tune as well, doing the tune, and it was an original. It wasn't I hadn't just done something like people were loving it because they'd heard it a million times. It was this is interesting. And even now, I had a gig 3 weeks ago. It was Shiv's birthday party at Nelson, and I was walking through up towards the club, and this guy came up to me, and I thought he was going to start. Honestly, he was giving it the beans, and I just started going, "I'm forever loving you." And started singing the song to me. He's going, "Brad?" I went, "Yeah." He went, "Good job," because I've just started singing a random song. So yeah, that I think that holds a lot of thing for me. Everyone's always got their own personal favourites. It's not necessarily the biggest tune, but they've got the personal favourites. You know what I mean? What's been your biggest tune?
Biggest tune. For me, in terms of big, it's got to be a track that's been #1 on a chart.
Yeah.
In terms of popularity.
Yeah.
We've had 2 #1s on Bounce Heaven. One that I did with a little bit of help from our Jules.
Yeah.
We released them under Rickshaw and Jules.
Yeah.
I'm sat there doing obviously the engineering. Jules doesn't have a clue when it comes to that side of things.
Yeah.
She's been learning,
Yeah.
but to do a full track maybe not. But she comes up with some banging ideas for tracks.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So we did our version of Corona, Baby,
Yeah.
and that was Bounce Heaven #1. I had track which was a remix of Annie Lennox, Walking on Broken Glass.
Yeah.
That was a #1 on Bounce Heaven, and to me, that's kind of validation that what you're doing actually matters, because there's a lot of really good, strong artists on Bounce Heaven.
Yeah.
Bounce Assassins.
Yeah.
If I've got a track coming out on a week where there's a Bounce Assassins track out, I write the idea of having the #1 off completely. It's not happening.
Yeah.
Lee and Paul are both brilliant.
Yeah.
And their tunes are just next level.
Yeah.
Anything which is produced by another, by an artist themselves, and gets to the top, I've got a lot of respect for.
Yeah, absolutely. So would you say that's your biggest tunes to date then, Baby, would you say?
Baby is probably,
popularity?
in terms of popularity, it was a Bounce Heaven #1, which is what I define as popularity.
Yeah.
I did a remix of Wings, Lights Go Down, which was a huge tune for Alter Ego last year.
Yeah.
And I wanted to kind of take it to the next level. There were a couple of things with the Alter Ego version that necessarily didn't sit right with me.
Yeah.
Not to say that I'm right, not to say that it's my opinion.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of the way it was mastered.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of some of the tuning on the vocal.
Yeah.
That is my opinion. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm right.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do a version of it, and that's been pretty big for me.
Yeah.
It was #1 on Excite. It's probably my second biggest played track on SoundCloud.
Right. Okay.
But I think that was just off the back of the popularity of the Alter Ego version.
Yeah, I like that, the honesty to it, because you could try and sit there and go, yeah, because I produced it, blah blah blah. Yeah, you've just got the trickle down effect of everyone searching for this and they've stumbled upon yours, whether they prefer yours or his is two different things. But yeah, I like the honesty behind it, mate. I do.
But now people are using mine in their mixes. Now it's out.
Yeah.
And people are actually asking on people's SoundCloud mixes, oh, I like this version.
Yeah.
Because I think Alter Ego's version was used in the last 2 Bounce Heaven podcasts that Andy Whitby makes. And then this time out of nowhere, he put mine in.
Yeah.
And it was one of 3 tracks in the entire podcast where it was played all the way through as well, which is a rarity.
Yeah.
If you've ever sat there and listened to a Bounce Heaven podcast, it's a rarity for a track to be played in full.
Right.
So I was dead happy with that. But because now people are going, oh, this is it's different. This is a new version, and they're trying to find where that one's come from. They might still have a lot of love for the Alter Ego version, and I know a lot of people do, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's all right, isn't it? This one you might be interested. This might not be you at all.
Okay.
All right, Mara. What is the weirdest conspiracy theory you believe? And that's from Jamie Fell. Are you a conspiracy theorist?
Do you know what? I used to love the X-Files back in the day.
Right.
Still do, actually, to be fair.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I believe in any conspiracy theories because I don't know whether I have time for them.
Yeah.
I work 50 hours a week and on top of producing and doing the live streams and that. And I just don't know whether I have the time to kind of sit there and go, oh, so-and-so's doing this.
Yeah.
I did like all the conspiracy theories that were going around during COVID about, like all the 5G and all of that. Whether I believe them or not, I don't know. I make up my own mind about things.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily believe any conspiracy theories. Possibly Epstein didn't kill himself. If I was
absolutely not.
If I was going to go,
no, he never.
If I was going to go anywhere, there's your one.
Yeah.
That's your one.
So is that the one that you most? That's your number one conspiracy.
Right, that would be the one that I would subscribe to, that I would actually have a bit of belief in.
Yeah, I believe in so much. You say conspiracy theories, but a lot of them come out now, and it's like, are the theories when they've been the documentation from the government being put out saying we do this or we did this X amount of years ago? It's like, oh God, this is terrible. This is absolutely terrible. For me, I've always had this thing of this is just something that I do in my life, and it might sound like a complete conspiracy theorist nut, but I don't drink tap water. Never have. I did when I was a kid, but like, I don't know. It sounds stupid because it's like, why don't you drink tap water? It's clean, etc. But I'd rather just drink bottled water. Just because they do put a lot of chemicals in it, and I don't want to sound so dumb when listening to this back. In the post edit, I'll be like, "What are you saying, you monk?" But like I'm gonna be like, they're just.
Would you drink tap water if it had, say it was like a glass of orange squash or dilute? You like get a bottle of Evian and tip it in?
I've got a bottle. I buy like spring water and put it in. So when I go to work every morning, I've got my I drink quite a lot, so it's like 1.75 litres.
Right.
And I have a bottle of like diluting juice, like a Vimto or something like that, and I'll put in spring water. And it's just because there is a multitude of reasons, but one of the main reasons is I don't like the taste of it. I think it tastes like shit. Like it does, and especially like people say that the water in my area tastes really good. It doesn't. It tastes like shit. And another thing is like, as I said, the cleaning water, but where they're sourcing the water from, where like stuff like that. Because recently we got letters through our house that it comes through boreholes rather than comes from the lakes, which it used to. So yeah, I have a questioning attitude, and that's mine. I'm gonna sound like a complete nut though when people look like this.
But I'll tell you this, not for those reasons, but I don't drink tap water either.
So
I'm just not a tap water person. I'm just not a water person.
Right. I drink water. I drink a lot of water, but it's always bottled water.
I'd have to I don't mind the flavoured waters.
Yeah.
But I just think it doesn't really taste too much.
Yeah.
And that doesn't sit right with me. It's like I'm drinking something, but my taste buds aren't picking up on it.
Right.
No.
I think I always like to be hydrated as well for some whatever reason. I think that's why I drink a lot of water.
I survive on Monster.
Monster. I used to drink so much Monster. I've actually got one in the car, thinking that it's going to be some sort of heavy drive back, but I'll open it if I need to. I only do drink the zero sugar ones now.
Right. Yeah.
And that's if I need to drink them. I had one yesterday, but that's because I've drove fucking hours and hours to get here. And it was the Lewis Hamilton. Have you seen that one?
Right, yeah.
It was quite nice. As far as energy drinks go, anyways. What's your go-to monster?
It's a good question. That I like the pink one.
Is that guava? Is it something
It's
guava?
like tropical.
Yeah, right.
Bits and all sorts of. There's a dark red one which is called mixed, MIXXD.
Yeah.
It's got like pictures of crossfaders and shit all over it. Right. It's kind of fitting. That one's quite nice. The mango loco's good as well.
Yeah. I used to drink one and they've discontinued it and it pisses me off because it was the best one. But maybe it's kind of good that.
Which one was that?
It was the green tea and lemonade. Can you remember
Yes.
the black one? And it was
Yeah.
yellow. It was really, really sugary and it was almost flat. It wasn't fizzy, but it was so nice.
There's a new one called Chaotic, which is the original green Monster flavour. They've just added a little bit more fruit into it.
Okay,
Very nice.
Excellent. Monster. Do you differ away from Monster at all?
Relentless.
I don't drink them.
Cherry Relentless, that's it.
I had one once, and I just thought I was drinking chemicals.
You
No,
probably
I had
don't.
is it the Blueberry Relentless? Have you had that before?
You think it's Rockstar?
Or is it Rockstar Blueberry then? Yeah. I don't drink any of the other ones now because honestly, I drank that one, that blueberry Rockstar, and honestly, it just tastes like chemicals. It tastes like you should be getting that at a dentist to wash your mouth out. Like that was what I got off it, anyways.
Probably what it is. It's the pink drink.
Yeah, but I like my Red Bulls and stuff like that as well. It just gives you a little kick when you need it. I just drink coffee instead of them now. Just to lay off it. I just drink 10 a day. So yeah.
This is a right tangent, this, isn't it?
No, it is. I apologise.
From conspiracy theories.
Where's conspiracy theory? The fucking Monster Energy, right, is good for you. No, I'm joking.
I'll take that as a theory.
No, don't. Don't listen to me. And the last question is, yes, Sam, love the Pop Funko chat with Al. What is your top 3 Funkos and what is one that you'd want but you don't have? Fucking love Pops, mate. And that's from Matt Clark. Are you a Pop Funko collector?
No, I'm not. But I'm obviously aware of them.
Yeah.
I'm aware they exist. I think anything music related.
What would you get then?
I'd have I think there's 2 Oasis ones.
I've got them.
Have you?
Yeah, fantastic, aren't they?
Anything Marvel related.
Yeah.
Is good, and Harry Potter.
Harry Potter, yeah.
I think the Harry Potter ones just look dead cool.
I don't want to get into them, if I'm honest with you, because I've got such a wide variety of what I get at the minute. It's just another one that I start collecting. So it's like, for instance, I've got a lot of music ones. I've got like the Beatles, Blink-182, Oasis, and I like getting them because like once you've got the 2, that's it. There's no more. Do you know what I mean?
You've got the band then, haven't you?
If you get a Harry Potter one, right? You've got your Dumbledore, Snape, Ron. It just expands. So, because I collect the Office ones, do you know, the American Office?
Yeah.
So, there's so many of them to get, and I still haven't got all them. And then I collect, like, wrestling ones that I like.
Nice.
I collect, what's my others? Oh, I've got a big thing for, like, old movies. So, for instance, I've got, I like Back to the Future. So, that's one of my favourite movies. So, I've got all them, and there's loads of alternate ones of them as well. What else is there? I've got so many different like hobbies. Do you know what I mean?
But they can all be channeled through collecting Funko Pops. That's cool.
It's not though because I do like have you seen this Hogwarts Legacy game?
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
out, right. Everyone's hammering it, right, and I haven't got around to going on it, and I know for a fact if I start playing that, then Pop Funkos are getting bought, and I don't want to do that because it's just another expense that you don't need.
Yeah.
So if you were to get them, so I'll change the question slightly from Matt. If you were to get them, right, what would the first 3 you would get?
First 3.
Yeah.
Like you, I'd probably go with some wrestling ones as well. Because
Right.
I'm a big wrestling fan as well.
Excellent. Who's your favourite wrestler?
Oh, Chris Jericho.
Chris Jericho, okay. The longevity of the guy's career and the way he reinvents himself is fantastic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it would definitely be wrestling. Is there a Chris Jericho Funko Pop? I
Yeah,
don't know.
there is.
Right, definitely.
It's the list one.
Right, yeah.
It's a list Jericho with the scarf and stuff.
Nice.
And there is a classic Lionheart Jericho out there, I believe. I haven't got it though. I believe it's out there. So go on, what others would you have?
I would definitely get. See, I like the smaller wrestlers, like the less built guys.
Yeah.
Who are a little bit more agile.
Yeah.
So maybe like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels.
Bret Hart class. I like Shawn Michaels as well. I'd like to. I've got a Shawn Michaels pop, but the one I want to get is do you know 1992 sort of when he first became the Heartbreak Kid, and I want that because he was very flashy and what's the word? The word flamboyant.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'd love to get one where he's all decorated like that. I think that's great. Good, not a bad shout, is it? For me, my three favourites, I've already named it on the last podcast, so we're sort of hitting back on ourselves. My three favourite ones that I've got, and just because they're my three favourite wrestlers, is the Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. The New Japan Pro Wrestling did a run of them for Hot Topic a few years ago, and I bought them then and got them shipped over because I just love them. I do. And the rarity that I would like, there is one. You say you like the smaller wrestlers. There's a rarity that's around. I think it goes for about 150, 160 pounds, like minimum, and it's a Rey Mysterio in a certain attire. There was only one of so many made. I think I'd like that one. I haven't got that one.
I thought you were going to say Razor Ramon.
I've got that.
Really?
Yeah,
Brilliant.
I've got. Well, if you must have seen the last podcast with Al, but basically I went to Hogan's Beach Shop last month in Florida and got Hogan signed NWO one with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, and got that. That was that's my most valuable one I have.
Nice.
But I've also got the Razor Ramon 1995 the pink attire with the pink shorts. That's really good. I love that. So we'll move away from the Pop Funkos. I could sit and talk about it all day, but right. So as we move on to this next part now, this is the first time we're doing it. Might not go well, this, but we're going to do it anyways. It's a new feature that I'm going to be doing it every week with guests. I asked the general public in the group, in the community group on Facebook and on Instagram, of your favourite tracks and your least favourite tracks ever. I done the 2000s to begin with, just to get the ball rolling. So what we're going to do is, it's called Flop or Bop. So flop is shit, and bop is you can bop to this, essentially. And I'm going to give you 5 tracks, and you just tell me flop or bop. Is that all right?
Absolutely.
Right, so track 1 is Lomac. It's Always a Blue Sky Day, the Res Q mix.
Bob.
Bop?
Bob.
Bop. A lot of people would say a flop, but
Really?
a lot of people, I think so.
I like a
it's
bit of Res
really,
Q.
It's really, really cheesy, the tune, but there's a certain demographic within the scene who absolutely love that tune. It's always labelled as Wigan Pier, isn't it? Like when you see it, but I don't think it ever got played much in the Pier, to be honest with you. But yeah, so that's a bop, is it?
I like it.
Gareth Emery and Christina Novelli, Concrete Angel.
This is so polarising. For me, I'm sorry, it's a complete bop.
Is it?
I love Concrete Angel, but if we're going to go Gareth Emery, I want to flip that because I prefer the Bouncing Forces remix of the Flip and Fill one. They had the vocal re-recording.
Yeah.
That Flip and Fill one, the Bouncing Forces mix, is brilliant. It's actually it was like the official theme song of our live stream.
Right.
Just the one that we always play each and every time.
I'm going to throw a little spanner in your works.
Go
Are you
on.
ready? Have you heard Poomstyl's remix of it?
Yes, I have.
I think that's the one for me. That's the best remix. Shout to Dazzyman as well. That is the best remix of that tune that I've heard. And I don't think anyone's beat it yet, to be honest with you.
You either love Concrete Angel or you hate it.
Yeah,
obviously.
that's why it's in here.
That's why it's in the game. But definite Bob. Yeah.
It's a bop, is it? Right. Special D, Come With Me.
Flop.
Flop.
I'm sorry, but it is a tune. But I don't think I'd ever play the original version out. If I had to play it, it would be sort of some sort of interpolation
With something else.
Yeah, Friday Night Posse's just done a good mashup of it with Bellissima,
right,
on Bounce Heaven, which really works. That's good. The
The
original version, not so much now. Not for me.
No, I don't think so. Right, I'm going to put my little spin on this. I think the vocals extremely cheesy, but that riff is really good. Like, really good. I think I'd steal that and use it in one of my tracks. That's how good I think it is. But as a track itself, I'm gonna have to go flop as well.
Hey,
sorry. Right, a little spanner in the works for you. You ready? Peter Kay, Amarillo.
Bob.
No way. Oh.
You've got to have a bit of
Nah.
a bit of fun in your life.
Yeah, I think Peter Kay's a wanker. I'm just going to put it out there. I do. I used to love his comedy years ago, but he comes across as one of them people that I just wouldn't get along with.
I don't think I'd want to go and see him now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go to the new tour. I've got no interest in it.
Yeah.
I think if I'd have seen him back in the heyday when it was all sort of, just garlic bread and all of that, and it was fairly new to us.
Yeah.
And it was fun. And this was nearly 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have gone then.
And you think this is a bop, this tune? I honestly, no.
If I heard it, if I was driving and it'd come on Gem or something, I wouldn't turn it off.
Oh God! Nah, what a joke. Everyone, it's subjective, isn't it? Everyone's got an opinion.
Yeah.
Like arseholes, everyone's got one.
Yep.
And the last one for today is Ultra Beat Pretty Green Eyes.
Hey, it's so hideously overplayed and so hideously over remixed as well. 20 years ago, yeah, it's the same as the Peter Kay thing.
Right now, so what we're doing.
Right now, flop.
I think it's a bop. I could listen to that song forever, and every time I go to a club night, it's on, and I think it's amazing.
Don't get me wrong, I've got a lot of love for Ultra Beat. I'm on the phone to Ian pretty much every week, sending him new tracks for his show on In Demand Radio and stuff like that. I've got a lot of love for Ultra Beat, but in terms of that one, that's just the most hideously overplayed club track, I think.
Yeah.
And if it came on, I probably, depending on what mix it was, I might even leave the dance floor.
Right. I still get shivers when it's building up. When that riff's going in, I just think it's amazing. I don't know. I think it's one of them tunes that made me fall in love with the scene and what it is and everything like that. It's one of them that'll stay with me forever, I think.
They have much better songs.
Yeah, so let me know if you like the flop or bop section, because I thought that was quite good. It creates a lot of conversation as well. Yeah, so we got bop, flop, bop, flop. That can get sampled. Someone's got a sample like that. I can't believe I've just said that into the mic and it's just going to flop.
That is coming to Chubby Tunes very soon.
Obviously. And so, as I do with everybody else when we tie up today, you're about to get the electric chair because you've just bootlegged something extremely cheesy, and they just think we can't even risk you bootlegging something else, and they just put you on the electric chair. You've got one last meal. You can have a starter, main, and dessert. What are we having?
Starter, cheese and leek souffle tart.
Right.
If you ever get the opportunity to nip into M&S Food and get one of them,
right? We
get one every Valentine's Day. They do like the dine in for £20.
Yeah,
we're cheap like that, you see.
Yeah.
So, but if you get the chance for one of them, cheese and leek souffle tart, fuck me.
I've never had it, but it sounds amazing.
It's really really nice. Main.
Are you a foodie? Yeah, big foodie.
Sometimes I can be.
Okay.
I can be. It depends what food you're putting in front of me.
Yeah. I eat anything, so I'm a foodie.
If I was going with a main, it'd have to be fillet steak.
Everyone says that.
I am a steak snob. If you put a rump or a sirloin in front of me, I'm sorry, but you can take that back. Right. I love a fillet.
Right.
Love a fillet.
What, is it just because it's easy to consume, or?
No, it just tastes nice. So there's practically no fat on it.
Yeah.
You don't have to spend half of your dinner dissecting.
Right. Okay.
Just dissecting your meal.
Okay.
And
are you a boneless chicken type guy as well?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah, I'm not a chicken off the bone, man.
There's if you're a fillet steak type guy, you tend to be a boneless chicken.
Yeah,
type
give me strips.
Yeah.
Give me strips or popcorn chicken.
Right. So what are you having any sauce on it? How do you have it cooked?
I would have a tiny little, and I do this, a tiny little thin layer of barbecue sauce on the top, just to.
I don't know about that.
Just to kind of give it a bit of something.
If I was gonna, right, this is just my opinion. If I was gonna do that, it would have to be a thin layer of smoky barbecue. It would have to be smoky. Because if you have like a normal sweeter barbecue, no, it's just gonna ruin the steak.
Yeah, smoky's better.
Right, okay. I'll let you off with that then.
I would have two sides, but this is my last meal.
Go on.
I would have dauphinoise potatoes.
Right, okay.
But and this is where I sound cheap again, the Cathedral City ones from Iceland.
Right, so you don't have them touching the steak the way it's split?
No, split it off.
The sauces are completely polar opposites.
Yeah, but the Cathedral City dauphinoise that you can buy from Iceland, they're like £3-4, but they are fucking lovely.
I've never had them.
They're so nice. If you like normal dauphinoise potatoes, the cheese is kind of creamy, and you get this. It's just pure cheddar.
Right. I'm going to give some people a little bit of an insight to what goes on behind the scenes of the podcast. I half ask these questions, right, to get some ideas to what to eat at home. Like, honestly, when people say, oh, I have this and this, and I'm like, right, okay, now I know where I'm going to... So I'm going to go to Iceland now.
There's one on the way out of town.
Right, I'm going to go to
Yeah,
Iceland
right.
and get them. There you go. Like, that is a little behind the curtain nugget there for you, if you wanted to know. That I only half ask that question. Half because I think I like talking about food, and the other half is I'm going to copy that meal, like, more or less at some point.
What we're doing essentially with this feature is giving you a menu of what you're
Yeah,
having
exactly.
tonight.
So the thing is, the amount of times that people have been on the podcast and then that night of when I made what they've said is unreal. Like, people think I'm joking as well, but as proof, I'll put pictures on my Instagram to prove it. But like the amount of times when I think what had happened, I had Farrell on and he was saying about he likes Chinese food, and he rhymed off all these Chinese dishes, right? Me and my missus went and spent 50 quid in the Chinese just to get what he ordered, just because it just got us in the mood for it. It's like, I said, oh, you'll never guess what he asked for on his meal. And he was like, go on. And then I rhymed off, like, do you fancy a Chinese? But go on then, so what are you getting for dessert?
Dessert would be some sort of chocolate-based cake, brownie possibly.
Brownie. How do you like your brownies? Do you like them like wet or a dry brownie?
Do you know what? I like both, but it would have to be one that maybe sort of got something liquidy in the middle, bit of chocolate
Goo.
centre, whacked in the microwave for 30 seconds just to give it that little bit of heat.
Nice. Ice cream with it or not?
Possibly. I would. It's my last meal, so let's push the boat out. It's taking me longer to eat it if there's ice cream, so they're not going to flick the switch on me then.
Okay. Right, and are you going to have a beverage with it? Doesn't need to be alcoholic, it can be anything at all.
Doesn't need to be alcoholic, but knowing me, it probably will be. I just have a couple of cans of lager with it on the
What
side.
lager?
I have a tendency to drink piss water, so like Carlsberg, Carling.
Oh, no.
Mainly due to the fact that they are like piss water and they're very weak, so I can just have more of them.
Right,
That's a stream tactic.
Right, okay.
If you were to actually look in the kitchen, you'd see the contents of last night's stream.
Right, okay.
Which is, I think we were on for 3.5 hours, and I got through about 11, 12 cans.
Okay.
Wasn't steaming by the end of it, but it's piss water.
Yeah.
So if
it's tactical, so of choice, you're getting your last one. Are you going to just have a tactical one? Because you're getting the chair anyways.
Yeah, exactly. So I would maybe hit up the most American lager. So maybe a Budweiser, maybe a Coors.
Nice, not a bad shout. Right, we're just going to sort of tie today up then. With where can people find you?
People can find a lot of my tracks on Bounce Heaven. They can find them on Excite Digital and DNZ.
Yeah.
We're on Facebook. I don't really do Instagram, you know.
Right.
I'm not an Instagram person. I'm not a TikTok person.
Yeah.
I just tend to run through Facebook, and that's it.
Okay.
And that's facebook.com/DJ Rickshaw.
Right, no problem. I want to say thank you for coming on, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Really enjoyed it, man.
Yeah. If you've enjoyed the episode, then share it with your mates. As you say, we're just trying to grow the audience. Just want to say, if you've made it this far into the podcast as well, thank you very much. If you made it this far into the podcast, go and subscribe on Patreon. It's £3 a month. You won't even notice it going out your bank. Right, you get free Brad Riffresh tracks with you. You get a Patreon exclusive, and you're supporting this cause. Do it, or I'll come and get you. See you later.